Hey guys, the Tech Prepper. Hope you're all doing well. Today I'm out here on my trail run about 2 miles out from an RMS Winlink gateway, one that I set up, and we're going to go ahead and interface it with my VX6, the DigiRig Lite, and my Android phone. So yeah, right away, about 2 miles out, even though I'm out here, we are connecting. I have 2 emails set up, and I'm trying to send it to my buddy Mike, and I'm asking for a relay to tell my wife that I'm okay. All right, let's go ahead, and this time we are going back to the shack. I'll show you how all of this stuff works and is configured. All right, so let's take a look at setting up Winlink on your Android device, and you're gonna need 4 things. You're gonna need your Android phone or tablet, you're gonna need your radio, and then you will need the DigiRig Lite. I'll put a link down below on how to get one of these, and then also the DigiRig cable for your specific radio. You're also going to need 2 other things on the administrative side, and that's one, you should be an amateur radio operator, so you have to have a valid call sign, and number 2, you need to sign up with Winlink, and that's going to be out of scope for this video, so I'm going to assume you already have a Winlink account and want to start sending mail just using your phone and your radio through the DigiRig Lite. So the first thing you want to do is open up your Google Play Store and download the WoAD application and get it installed. I created a little card here for the Buy Me a Coffee guys that walks through all of the settings that we're going to go through, and I'll also toss it up on the screen really quickly so you can print these out and then laminate them on a double-sided single card. All right, so we want to go ahead and launch WoAD, and mine's already pre-configured, but I'm going to show you a couple things. Number one, I will tell you the user interface is something that you have to get used to, and I'll try to walk you through it as best as we can. So in the top right-hand corner, we have our settings that are global, and what you do have to put in is your call sign and then your Winlink password. Not much else on this section. The second thing that I like to set up right out the gate is actually the position or my location, so it's easy to find the Winlink stations in my area, and this really tripped me up the first time. So you want to go to Other, and then click on Position Report. Now, this is how I'm doing it. There's probably other ways to do it. And what I actually did turn off here is the Update Grid from Position. I unchecked that, and then I manually entered in my Maidenhead grid square. In my location, I am in Delta Mike 33, X-Ray Victor. I'll put a link to a site on how you can calculate your grid square. So with that information, WoAD will actually know how to calculate the stations in my area. All right, so the next piece we have to set up here is which session, and for my purposes and for this video, we're going to do a packet Winlink session. So we're going to go click on that ellipses in the top right, go to sessions, and I already have one listed here for the DigiRig Lite. Now, down at the bottom, they've got this other UI convention with another vertical ellipses, and you can actually add a new session. So this is kind of like the context menu for a lot of the different interactions. So 3 different places. On the top left, you've got the menu for like your inbox, your outbox, drafts. On the top right, you kind of have the global settings, and then on the bottom, you have the context specific settings. So we're going to go add, and we're going to give this session a name, and I'm just going to call this one Packet to make things very simple. And the nice thing about Winlink is you can have multiple different session types. I'm just working with Packet for right now. And then for the protocol, you have a number of options here, and we're going to select Packet. The type, you'll leave it as the default for outgoing. And then for the settings, really straightforward. You want to find a destination address, your RMS gateway, so click on that. And this one is going to be important. So click on RMS channel selection. And mine's already populated, but down at the bottom, on the ellipses in the bottom, click Update via Internet, and that'll take the position we just set and find all of the nearest stations in your area. Now, I'm going to get into kind of the hurdles I had to go through to find an RMS gateway. There's actually 4 things that I tried for those of you who care about that. But for right now, we're just going to pick my RMS gateway. I actually went through the effort of setting one up. And what you want to make a note there of is the frequency, because we're going to have to use that frequency to dial in our radio. For here, it's 145.710, and then hit the save little checkbox at the bottom. So the other thing you want to do now that we have that ready to go is click the back, and we want to go to TNC type, and you want to set that to audio for the DigiRig Lite because this is an audio interface. Okay. Now the TNC configuration, again, I have all of these on the card, and these are just values that I'm using. So modulation should be the default as AFSK 1200 bits per second. Mode should be simplex. Now this is what you have to make sure you do. Channel selection should be set to left. There's a left and a right audio, and by default it's set to right, so this will not work unless you select left. The other thing I opted for that you may have to adjust is I actually clicked set packet volume, and I have mine set to about 78. I find that's a good mix for my signal to get out. And then the last thing, to trigger the push to talk on the Vox circuit, DigiRig actually supports on the right channel a different tone that can trigger the PTT. So we separate the in and out volume of the actual data from the PTT line, and to do that I checked unused channel. And that's really pretty much it for setting up the core features to get this working. So let's go back a couple times, and then we've got this new session here listed for packet. So one of the cool things about Winlink is that there are three primary use cases I use it for. Number one, you as a radio operator can send email to anybody in the world so long as they have a valid email address. And if you send it out first to them, it means that they can send it back to you really easy. Number two, I like to also send email within the Winlink network. So anybody that has a Winlink account, all you have to do is put in your call sign and you can exchange email over the Winlink system. And then the third thing I like to do is they have a number of services that allow you to obtain weather information, news, and a variety of other things. I'll use it for getting like HF propagation reports. So I've got another set of fuel cards on just a short list of things I like to use. So let's go ahead and go over to compose an email. So like I said, on the top left hand side here, we have what you would normally see in your email client that has kind of all your folders: inbox, sent, outbox. So let's go ahead and we're going to compose a message. And I'm going to send this to my buddy Mike, but you can put either another Winlink user's call sign or a valid email to your wife, whomever you want. So we'll put KC8OWL. And then for the subject, I'm just going to put YouTube demo. And the one thing to keep in mind with these kinds of messages is that the data transfer is very slow when working with packet. So you want to make sure you keep your messages concise, and when you're replying, you want to make sure you truncate kind of the message from the previous person so you don't send all of that over the wire. And I'm just going to put demo, if I could type. All right, so down at the bottom, you have to post this to your outbox. It's this little icon. And what you'll notice here, if we go back to the little menu, we've got one item in our outbox. So the way this works now is we'll go back to sessions, and you want to make sure you highlight the session there. So a couple things I mentioned before, I like to use a second radio to monitor, at least at the beginning, to hear the packets going through. So this one's set to 145.710, and that was that info I told you to make a note of. So we want to do the same thing with our radio. And you'll notice that I have the squelch all the way open, and you want to do that. And then we want to set the volume, at least on these radios, I've noticed about the 11 o'clock position on the FT60 and the VX6 works. Then we'll connect our DigiRig cable and make sure that our volume is back at the 11 o'clock position. And then we're going to connect this guy up, and then we're going to plug the DigiRig into USB here. And as I mentioned before, the volume is important. So based on like the last video, I'm going to click on the Android volume, and I want to make sure, at least for this application, that the media volume is a little bit higher. In comparison to APRS Droid, I noticed that I have to drive my volume a lot higher when switching over to WoAD, and that's why I have these dope cards to kind of help me with that. So at this point, before we get going, I want to go ahead and go to logs, click on the ellipses at the bottom and clear those logs because I kind of want to see what's going on. So we'll go back to sessions, and all we're going to do is hit this little play button, and it should initiate our session. So we should hear it. All right, so we'll turn that down. And the nice thing about the logs here is you can actually see here we're connected to an RMS gateway. In this case, it happens to be mine. So data transfer is still happening. In fact, if we go back to the sessions, you can see here that we are receiving messages. It'll also show you the status of when it's sending. So you can see the % complete here. All right, so that was actually pretty quick for packet work. Now let's go ahead and a couple things to check. Make sure that there's nothing in your outbox. That means that it was sent, the email that we have put in there. And then let's go into our inbox, and it looks like I have, actually 2 new messages. The first one is from service. I had sent out a request for some space weather alerts. So I've got that. This is kind of a long message as far as emails go, but on packet it's fast enough. And then my buddy William, KI4HTU, he sent me something. Let's hope it's appropriate. Built-in Bluetooth makes a simple package. Love my Kenwood. So you see at the bottom here, he left my message in there. Not to pick on William, buddy, but I'm going to pick on you. If I was doing this over HF over a much slower speed, like RDOT, for example, at 300 bits per second, all of that would have to be transferred. So I would have liked to have him truncate that on July 3rd, 2024 in my original email to him. So guys, that's basically all you need to do for WoAD. Again, if you're buying me a coffee member, I'll put a link in the newsletter on where to download this, and then you can print your own double-sided dope card with everything you need to get going. But if you guys want to stick around, I want to share with you my experience with finding a local RMS gateway. I've got 4 different things that happened. All right, so it's story time. So a few things happened trying to figure out WoAD. I was not able to get into a local Winlink packet RMS station in my area. I used to be able to do this, but it's been about 6 months, and I used to relay my signal through something called the DigiPeter that was hosted about 55 miles from me, but it was at a peak. So from my location, I would be able to send that traffic, and then it would hit one of the RMS gateways. So my MCOM Tools software project, I've plotted a few things. So I'm actually located here. And the station that I first wanted to hit was the station down in Phoenix, Kilo Echo 7 Echo Juliet Foxtrot -10. And point to point, it's 32 miles. So going direct was a no-go. I even went outside, set up a directional antenna about 12 feet up in the air, pointed it down south at a bearing of 186 degrees, even took my FT60 and a 85 watt amplifier, connected it with the WoAD, and nothing. So then I convinced my wife to go to town. We went to Walmart, which was about 5 miles closer from where I was. In the parking lot, I used the antenna in the Jeep and tried to hit that same station. No go. We had some breakfast, then went down to actually HRO Phoenix. Let's go ahead and go backwards here. So HRO Phoenix was actually pretty close, and I tried from the parking lot, nothing. But then I finally went in and asked the guys at HRO, saying, hey, do you mind if I use your antenna on the roof? And Paul, N0RWW, said, yeah, why not? So I pulled my gear out, got my phone, got WoAD, and on very little power, actually was able to establish a Winlink session to Kilo Echo 7 Echo Juliet Foxtrot. So that's the point where I realized everything with WoAD and the DigiLink worked really well. So I thought about this because I have another station that is kind of northwest of me that is 46 miles from me, and another station that is 48 miles out in Wickenburg. And again, I used to be able to hit all 3 of these guys with that DigiPeter, but it was down and is still down. So what I decided to do instead was set up my own Winlink RMS gateway, and this was brand new to me. So I basically took this little guy right behind me, had another FZM1 lying around, installed Windows 10 on it, and I contacted the guys over at Winlink and said, hey, I want to set up a 24/7, 365 day a year RMS gateway. Now, it is bridged with my Starlink, but now I'm providing a service that bridges radio and the Winlink system. I'm a part of that network now. And in my area now with this setup, I basically have about 7 to 10 miles of coverage. So I can be mobile, I can be running around the hills. In fact, when I started the video today, me being out about 2.5 miles with just the radio and my phone, I was actually making it back to my station, and it was the one connecting to the internet. So long story short, I deployed some infrastructure now at the house. I have battery backup and failover. And the cool thing about also running my Winlink RMS gateway on something like a tablet or a laptop is that it has a built-in battery. So if the power goes out, I've got 18 hours with the extended battery on there. And then I also have a automatic failover for the radio from AC mains to a 10 amp hour battery to keep my station running. So I can share my experience with that. I'm very new to Windows, but it was super straightforward to install RMS packet and the sound modem. But long story short, guys, if you are looking to be a bit more mobile, something like your Android phone or tablet with the DigiRig Lite is an absolutely great way to have very minimal gear to go out in the field and do email and contact anybody. So in the next video, we're probably going to take a look at using it with an application called FL Message and try to do some HF with just our phone. So that should be fun. Don't have anything to drink, but guys, I'm the Tech Prepper. Be strong, be safe, and be prepared. Oh, and a big thank you to all the Buy Me a Coffee guys. You are amazing. Thank you.